Yeah, my Travel Ones podcast, I'm lucky to have Josie Stevens. Josie is a model, a stylist, fashion designer, married to a rock legend, a past guest, Steve Stevens. Has worked managing Steve in his business, started on a TV reality show, fashion apparel. What else have you been into, Josie?
I'm kind of like a jack of all trades, I guess. I mean, I've done interior design. I was a model. I used to be a makeup artist. So, yeah, I've tried a bunch of things, seeing what fits, seeing what I like. I've been lucky that way.
Well, and the nice thing is you've traveled quite a bit for most of those jobs as well.
Yeah, I definitely have. And especially with, Steve, we're pretty much on the road the majority of the year. So I love it. That's to me, the most amazing perk of any job is being able to travel.
I was going to ask you, how many days a year do you think you guys are on the road?
Wow. Well, it depends.
Yeah.
It depends on the year, but I would say could be between 6 and 9 months, depending on
different gigs.
How heavy a touring year it is and what else we have going on. Although right now, maybe not for a couple of months, we'll be at home.
Yeah. So not because you want to.
No. But, it's the safe thing. And, I think once everything clears up, we'll be right back on it. We already have, dates booked later in the year, and hopefully we'll be able to go out and do those.
To stay with them, yeah. And speaking with Steve on the podcast a few weeks ago, I don't remember, but I remember he did mention that he was so happy that he got to travel with you. And so I think it's great that I get a chance to talk to the other side of the coin, which I haven't done yet.
That's sweet. Yeah, we are lucky. Because I feel like not everybody, of course, even gets the opportunity to travel at all, but to get to do it with your spouse is really amazing because, we have so much fun together. And I think before we used to travel together, he used to stay in his room a lot, and I drag him out. Probably sometimes I annoy him and he thinks, oh my God, leave me alone. But I think, we always wind up having fun, and he's shown me things that I never would have ever been able to see. And he's a really good sport about it. He'll pretty much go wherever I want to go, no matter how weird it is. So, we've gotten to see some amazing things, and getting to share it together, I feel like makes it so much more special and beautiful than, if you see those things or experience those things on your own. So I'm super grateful for that.
Well, and I'm sure, he traveled before he even started dating you. So he got to see, he's seen both sides, and he sounded much happier now.
Oh, so much happier. And I mean, traveling alone is fine, or traveling, for business and stuff. I mean, it's still all amazing and fun, but it's special. And I'm lucky because, Steve and I really enjoy spending time with each other. Even when we're not traveling, we pretty much, do everything together. He goes on tour, I go with him. When I did the reality show, he did it with me. Even when I've done, other businesses of my own, like my clothing line and whatever, he always comes out. He always supports, I did a launch party. He put together a band for our fashion show. We pretty much do everything together. And I feel like when you can find somebody that, you love that much and you love spending time with that much, that it's that's a treasure really in life.
That's the way it's supposed to be. Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree. And I get to travel with my wife, not as much now, but still quite a bit.
Yeah.
But,
that's nice. Well, especially going to Hawaii. I'm sure she wants to go on every one of those trips. You could work, I'll be at the beach. That's what I would do.
Well, the way it works is, Josie, is when I say I have to go to North Dakota, she goes, I'm busy. When I go, I got to go to Missouri, she goes, I'm busy. I have to go to Hawaii. Oh, I'm open. I'm available.
Oh, miraculously, her schedule clears it.
I go, I didn't tell you the date. She goes, I know.
But I'm ready. I'm ready to make that sacrifice for you, is what she's telling you. See,
yeah.
She loves you.
She's a giver.
Exactly. It's far to Hawaii. She doesn't want you to travel that far alone. It's very selfless.
Yeah, she's just sweet that way. So, when you started dating Steve, did you think you would always have your own career, or how did it work out that you all of a sudden you just kind of morphed into being part of it?
Yeah, you know what? I'm a pretty independent person. I don't like to feel, dependent on a man or anything like that. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. I am fully a judge-free person. But for me personally, I don't feel happy in life unless, I have my own, my own income and my own interests. And yeah, me and Steve certainly do, virtually everything together. But I still think that that's a nice thing. And I also think that that keeps like a bit of a spark in your relationship because it gives you different things to talk about and, whatever. So yeah, I always planned on and always did have, my own thing going on. And, being his manager, I kind of fell into that because I'm good with business, and I sort of started slowly like taking over things for him. Like, oh, let me look at this contract for you, or, oh, let me, whatever. And then it just kind of became like, I fell into it like, oh, how did this happen? But I was manager. So I was his manager for a really long time, like, well over a decade. And actually just this past month, we hired a new manager, Kent Sorrell at Elevation, to take over because there's a few like projects I've been wanting to do that I've had like opportunities on the table that I just couldn't do them because I just don't have the time. Steve's so busy, and being his manager is really like a pretty full-time job. Sure. So, I'm still going to help. Like, I'm still going to help Kent be involved, but he's really taken the reins on that. He doesn't need my help, and he's a great manager. So he's going to take over that. So I have some more time to, do some of the projects that I've been wanting to do. There's like some, things I'm looking to produce, and also another, retail business I'm working on. So now I'll have the time to do that. I'm still going to travel with Steve and, whatever, but it frees up my time where I'm not like looking at contracts and sending emails all day.
You won't have to set up the meet and greets anymore, or?
Yeah, but I'll still go. I love meeting people. That's honestly one of my favorite things about traveling is I love seeing how other people live, and I love talking to people. I talk to everybody. I talk to every person I meet, even if they don't speak English. I'll talk to a tree. I'll talk to a dog. Like, I talk to everybody. I'm friendly like that, So
that's how I got started in the podcast. I had a friend recommend it. She's like, you talk to a lot of people. You might as well talk to them, record them. I'm like, oh, good.
Yeah. And I feel like that's really like how you get to like, learn so much is by talking to other people. And I also feel like, when you learn about them, you learn about yourself, and, it expands your mind. And I just love people in general. I love just chatting and hearing what people have to say. So I feel like that's my favorite thing about travel. So I will still be at the meet and greets. I'll still be chatting with everybody. I'll still be like, doing my thing because I'm definitely outgoing. I get bored if I'm just in the house like I currently am, on our little quarantine here,
Yeah, exactly. Well, absolutely. Like we were talking earlier, that's the hardest part for me is not being on the road because for me, if I'm not on the road, I feel like I'm not making money. And so even before the quarantine, it's like, oh, I need to get out on the road. I need to get out. I need to do this. And now I'm stuck not being able to go on the road. So,
yeah, it sucks on that aspect. It does. I think, everybody's feeling that. But I also think like, at least for me, it's not an entirely bad thing. What's happening in the world is really bad. But in terms of like mentally, I feel like I'm one of those people that like always wants to be productive. I'm a bit of a workaholic. Let's go. Let's do this. Let's do that. And I feel it's given me a moment, whether I like it or not, to step back and not be productive and sit in that and really sit with like my thoughts. And like, it's kind of nice. I think if it lasts too long, I'll go insane. But for now, it's like, yeah, you don't always have to be productive. I'm trying to teach myself that lesson that you're allowed to relax sometimes,
I think I think that's the hardest part for a lot of people. Like, when I'm home, I like to relax and this and that. I guess it's just the idea that I'm not allowed to go out is the hardest part.
Yeah. Well, that part's tricky. It's tricky. Like, one of my best friends lives nearby, and I can't even be like, hey, come over. And normally she's at my house virtually every day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, we can FaceTime, But I also think that's one of the things. Even if you can't travel or you can't see people, there's like, certainly negatives to the internet and stuff, but there's a lot of positives. And one of them is, I could FaceTime my parents if I want to, even though they're in the Midwest, or I can call, my friends, or we can, email or text or whatever. And so I feel like you could still stay connected with the whole world. And it's been interesting talking to my friends in other countries and seeing how things are going for them right now with everything going on and being able to check in on them. Imagine, a time before that when you wouldn't even know if people were okay. You'd have to wait for a letter in the mail.
Totally agree. My mother-in-law, who lives in Las Vegas, we got her first iPad so we could FaceTime. And
did she like it?
At first, she hated it. She couldn't figure out the button. She couldn't figure out how to turn it off. She couldn't figure out how to turn it on. She couldn't figure out how to charge it up. We had to get her an email address and she's 81 now, but she was 80 at the time. She had never in her life had an email address.
Wow.
And we're like, the guy at the Apple store is like, excuse me? Like, no, you've never had an email? She goes, no, my husband took care of it all. So we got her an email address and got her on FaceTime. So at least, my wife can see her mom and chat, and her mom can show her stuff, walk around the house, and it's kind of funny.
Yeah. It is nice to be able to see people you love. Although I won't lie to you, some days when I've been having days where it's like, oh my God, if I get one more email, I'm going to lose my mind. I fantasize about that. I'm like, imagine if I didn't have a phone or an email. Like, like it always passes. I'm grateful to have it. But, we all have those moments where it's like, it would almost be liberating at times to be like, you can't reach me. Everybody's so reachable right now,
I'll tell you the negative that I found is I went to Denver for my corporate office is based in Denver, and I was charging up my phone in my wife's car. She dropped me off at LAX, and I left my phone on the dash, like in the charger. I'm like, shit. You don't realize how much you use it for phone numbers, for texting your boss, for addresses. It's like, I got to Denver airport, and I'm like, well, I got to call the airport to get the shuttle service. How do I do that?
Yeah, I mean, you're dependent for sure.
Yeah. So I had to find
I broke my phone in Vegas. Like, when we were just there, I dropped it, and I cracked the screen. Like, and it still technically works, but it's like, it's not broken, like it cracks, but it's like got a blue streak down it where you can't. And the first thing I was like, I got to get a phone. I don't care what it takes. All the stores are closed. Every Apple store is closed. I called them like, you got to help me out here, man. So they did. They overnighted me, the new phone. Thank goodness, because I would have been tripping. But even when we went to Saudi Arabia, we couldn't bring our phones like when we went there. But I bought like burner phones. I was like, I can't live without a phone. I'm gonna buy a burner.
you forget, like, even a lot of the business travelers. I've talked to a couple of the guys. Especially the musicians, because they travel so much. I talked to a guy who's in a rockabilly band for almost 35 years. And, when you go to Europe now, you pull up your phone, you can translate things, in different languages and the currency and all that. But now on your phone, you can do all that. But, 20 years ago, you showed up and you had a map, you had to buy a map, you had to try and, find somebody that could speak the language. It was a lot tougher.
Yeah, these kids today don't know how good they got it. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But it's true, though. It is true. I mean, we're so reliant now on like navigation and all of those things. And it's true. We use them all the time. Like, if I want something and I don't know how to say it in that language, then, of course, the phone is super helpful. And for figuring out what something costs and, all of those things, it's really, it's helpful. And, I mean, it definitely expands your world for all its like sometimes negativities. I think overall it's a positive,
Well, I always remind people, especially if they travel for work, I go, do you remember a time when you would show up at the airport and then find out your flight was an hour and a half delayed?
Oh, yeah, huh?
Versus getting the text, reminder and all, the email reminders and all the things saying, oh, by the way, your flight's late. And you're like, oh, cool. I can, can chill out for a half hour or whatever.
Yeah, it's true. And as a woman, I probably look at it a little different too, in the sense of like, it gives me a sense of security. If I'm going anywhere,
oh yeah,
by myself or whatever, I feel like, okay, first of all, I could, if anything happens, I could call Steve or call an Uber or call whatever. But also, like, bless iPhone, if you push the side button 5 times in a row really quick, it pings your location to the police. So, like, if I go for a hike or something by myself, at least I know if any kooks come or anything crazy pops up, like, you have that access where, again, 20 years ago or 30 years ago, maybe you didn't have a way to, like,
shit just
call
happened.
your husband or the police or whoever if you had a problem. So, and we have that little tracker on our phone, like me and Steve. So like, if one of us is out, I'll send him like, ping, here's where I am. If I'm like in an Uber and it seems sketchy or something, I'll be like, okay, here's where I am. Track me home. If I don't come home in, 10 minutes, ring the alarm.
Something's up. Yeah. Well, and because I travel so much for my work, it's like Wendy's like, hey, text me when you get there. Text me when you're halfway. Text me when you get to Barstow or Bake. All right, baby. All right. That makes it feel better.
It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It does. And I could be a little too brave if you want to know, like, the truth of the matter, because, like, I love to explore, especially when we go new places. So, like, my general vibe is, like, I'm going out, And if he's tired, we were up late or whatever, I'll go out by myself. I'll go for a wander, which, I've had mixed results with. Most of the time it's fine.
Mixed results.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time it's great, but every now and then you have a little scary experience. And, like, I've seen some amazing things that way. Just being like, I'm going to go for a walk. We were in Italy, and I was like, I don't care. I'm going for a long walk. And I just walked, and, like, I stumbled upon some beautiful open-air market, and then I found a abandoned amusement park. I was having the time of my life. But I've had other times where I was like,
why am I here?
Okay, abort mission. Got to head back to the hotel immediately, So, yeah, sometimes, I don't know. I guess there's that expression, like, more balls than brains. That's me.
I got it.
I'm going out. Let's see what happens.
Well, see, Wendy knows I'll take alternate routes just so I can take a different road. And then, I'll stop and take pictures if I see something nice or whatever. So she's like, make sure, just let me know when you get to the hotel. Because that could be an hour and a half later than I expected, because I stopped and found a barn with some old cars and ended up talking to the guy that owns the barn. And he was telling me about the cars. And, 45 minutes later, I'm like, oh, I gotta get back on the road. So I'm the same way. Just find something to break up the monotony of being on the road.
Yeah. Well, my one thing is like if I'm wandering, like, wherever, usually my little thing is like, I'll go anywhere, If I start seeing too many bars on the window,
yeah,
I turn around and go back. That's like my one, like, because that's usually when I ignore those kind of, like, signs. Because, generally speaking, if you're looking at houses and they got bars on the windows, there's a reason. So that lets me know. All right.
I had to teach Wendy that same lesson.
Yeah.
When she moved to LA, she's like,
really interesting. Also,
I go, if there's bars on the bottom windows, it's bad. If there's bars on the top and bottom, it's really bad.
Yep. Turn around.
Time to go.
But I mean, when I was younger, I lived in a place that had bars on the windows. So, I mean, it is what it is. Like,
sure.
My first apartment when I moved to LA, there was bars on the windows. But I mean, having said that, I mean, I think, like, you don't always know if you don't know a neighborhood and you're just, like, walking around, you don't know. But I mean, I think people are inherently good, so I don't worry about it too much. And there's been times where I've been lost or, had a problem, and people are always, like, really good and really friendly. I feel like, for the most part, about, like, okay, well, here's where you need to go, or, so I like to believe people being good no matter where you are.
Typically, I found when I get out of the, LA, if I get out of San Francisco, get out of the main cities, everyone's pretty friendly and pretty nice, especially around different parts of the country.
Yeah, it's really true. When I first moved to LA, I'm from the Midwest, so I would be talking to everybody. And sometimes people would be looking at me like, why are you talking to me? Like, why are you trying to sell me or whatever, But, like, I'm just used to that. And, like, sometimes, because I, like, like I said, I tend to talk to everybody. And I feel like it really is, like, a little bit cultural, too, that, like, some places you go, people are, super, like, down to talk and whatever. And other times people, I think, regard that with a little bit of suspicion, depending on, like, what country you're in or, whatever. And because it's just not their custom to talk to strangers. So, I mean, I've definitely had people think that I was, like, a weirdo, which I guess I am. But I try to smile at everybody and talk to everybody. If they think I'm weird, they think I'm weird. But I've definitely, like, had to learn not to get my feelings hurt. If I'm like, hi, how are you? And somebody doesn't answer me, like, okay, maybe they don't hate me. Maybe I've just breached some social etiquette that I'm not aware of,
I was going to ask you, when you travel abroad in different countries, how difficult is it finding out the threshold of what's acceptable and what's not? Because my wife and I were trying to read up and study on Japan and how different it is culturally over there than it is here. Have you researched before, or is it something you just kind of go out and find out?
I think it depends. For the most part, I tend to be like, well, I'm going to just try to, like, observe a little bit and, like, read the room, so to speak, to see, like,
Sure.
But, like, when we've gone certain places where I know that, their laws or customs are really different than, yeah. In fact, before I went to Saudi Arabia, I wasn't really sure, like, what the rules were, and I didn't want to offend anybody, or do anything that would be, incorrect. But I just genuinely didn't know. And I was hearing mixed things. Some people were saying, that, I would need to buy an abaya, the long coat that covers,
everything.
And that, maybe I needed to wear, cover my hair and everything. And I was like, I didn't know. So I actually found a really nice woman named Miriam, who's a fashion blogger. I Googled Saudi Arabia fashion blogger, and I found her. And she has this really amazing book she did called Under the Abaya. And it's like a fashion blog of Saudi Arabia and what the women are wearing. So I reached out to her. I mean, I didn't know her, but, on Instagram. So bless the internet for bringing us all together. And I just said, hi, I'm coming to visit, and I've never been there before. And I'd like to be respectful, and I'd like to follow, your culture and your rules and laws, but I'm not really sure. I'm hearing really mixed things. And she was like the nicest person and was like, I will take you shopping if you want. You could wear this, don't wear that. You don't have to wear the abaya. That's not true. You just dress conservatively, make sure that your, shoulders and knees are covered, but you don't have to cover your hair or your face or anything. And I was like, thank you. Like, it was Perfect. So kind of her to take the time. And I wore, conservative clothing, like still my style. Like I wore like leather pants and stuff, but like I was covered completely and I didn't have any, any issues, but I just wasn't sure, So like when it comes to like, I try to like, follow, what is acceptable wherever I'm going. But I also feel that people, for the most part, if you're not from there, they're willing to
cut you some slack.
Yeah, overlook if you make a mistake. If they feel that your intentions are good, like I think that for the most part, people will cut you some slack. And when we were in Tokyo, like there, I feel like to a certain degree, it's not really welcome to necessarily talk to strangers on the street. But at least that was the impression I got. But I didn't know that when I got there, and I'd see all these fabulous looking women who were dressed so cool,
Yeah.
And I would go up to them and be like, "Oh my God, you're so cute,"
And they're like, "What are you doing?"
They looked at me like, So, some people, I think, like maybe they didn't like it. But having said that, I had girls coming up to me saying, "Oh, I like your outfit," or "Oh, you look like Paris Hilton to me," or whatever. So, I guess like anything, it depends on the person. But then I kind of stopped approaching women on the street, which sounds really funny to say that. I stopped approaching women on the street like I'm a creepy dude, but I just wanted to like make friends and talk to people and be like, oh, because I feel like, where did you get that? Where did you go shopping? You look amazing,
I totally get it. After dating my wife who will wear a pinup outfit or, with her pink hair, mainly women, like 95% of the people women would just come up and go, oh, I love your glasses, or I love your dress, I love your skirt, I love your hair. Blah, blah. So I think it's, at least around here, it's common.
Yeah, and I actually feel like, I mean, if women come up to me and compliment me, I love it. Or if they ask me where I got something, or even if they just say hello, I'm open to it. I could be more cagey when it's guys because sometimes, of course, they have ulterior motives,
Sure.
But like, I guess I was looking at it from my perspective of like, oh, well, I'm a girl, so surely, people will know that I don't mean any harm. But, of course,
it's just cultural, right?
Yeah. And sometimes I've like in different places, like smiled at a guy, but I'm not smiling at them in a flirtatious way. I smile at everybody, but it could be misread. So I've learned to like a little bit. I still smile at people, but I've learned to like, like again, just be like, is that okay? Because excuse me, I've been places where like, it's, essentially the same as here. And I've been other places where it's like, don't reach out your hand to shake a man's hand unless they reach their hand out first, or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, I feel like you have to, respect however people's customs or culture are. I try to.
I find even in the States, there's some big cultural differences from, if you go down south to the upper kind of Midwest, to the coastal areas. There's a wide range of people everywhere.
absolutely, absolutely. You know, and even because I dress kind of wild. Even that, like sometimes I won't think about it, and I'll just like be putting on my LA outfit in like you know the Midwest or the South or something, and then
Yeah.
you're getting the look like, and you're like, might have might have made a text there. I remember we went to, I think it was Oklahoma, and I was hyped because I had just gotten a pair of like sequin chaps, and I was like, I'm gonna wear my sequin chaps. I'm gonna be like fully like I'm fitting in.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, I'm going to fit in.
Yeah, but turns out that maybe it's not a thing to wear like sequin chaps with a bikini underneath them in Oklahoma. So, but whatever, I look cute. I don't care.
That's all that matters. Nah,
It was a good outfit. It was a good outfit, but yeah, it might have been a bit much for where we were at. I might have overdressed on that one, but whatever. I had fun.
Well,
I didn't hurt anybody.
I'll tell you, even like I work at the rodeo every year in Las Vegas, the big rodeo in the start of December. And it's people from around the country and literally from around the world. I've had people from Brazil, Scotland, Australia that fly in just for the rodeo. And it's like I can wear a really conservative, what I consider conservative, and then someone will come in and go, why are you so wild? And I'm like, oh, it has red in the shirt or something, you know? And I'm like,
wow,
oh
really?
God. Yeah, so some people are super conservative and some people are not. So
It's funny to me, though, because when I think of a rodeo, and maybe it's just too many movies or whatever, I'm picturing razzle-dazzle. I'm picturing nudie suits with bejewels on them and big belt buckles. Like, you know, maybe that's not the real deal rodeo.
I love the fact that you said nudie.
Oh, my God. Amazing. I
Yeah.
love a nudie suit.
I just had a conversation with his daughter a while back about trying to come out with some more clothes. So
Yeah?
So see what happens. She definitely wants to do something, I think, with it. So
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I love that aesthetic. Like, I love, like, that kind of, like, Western. But I guess I'm going for the rhinestone cowgirl, you know? But
and they're out there.
Dolly Parton. You know, I mean, Dolly Parton. When I think of, like kind of that style, I think of her. But, of course, you know, she's an entertainer. And I sometimes lose perspective on the fact that she's razzle-dazzling on stage. But that doesn't mean that it's a rodeo. Everyone's dressed like Dolly Parton.
Almost nobody does. Yeah, it's interesting.
But they should, though. They should.
Hey, I like I said, if I wear a loud shirt, all of a sudden it's like, whoa. I have right now I've been wearing my I have a hair on hide cowboy boot that I've been wearing a lot, which is the hair on the outside.
Oh, nice.
And people are like, oh my God. I'm like, what? Wait, so my next pair of boots I want design is it's going to have yak hair on the outside, which and then I'll trim it to about 1.5 inches, and then I'm going to shave the sides and just leave a mohawk strip down the middle of the boot.
Oh my God, that sounds sick.
Yeah.
That sounds so good. And I feel like, you know, I mean, it's got to be good for you because people are going to see you wearing something really flash and be like, I want that. Where'd you get that? And then you can be like, welcome to my store, you know?
Well, but then I've already got some sold to some of my stores because I've told them about it. They're like, oh, I'll buy some. I'm like, all right. But then I have my other stores, and I have friends that are like, what the hell are you talking about? Because they just, you know, they wear a brown boot. That's all they wear.
Yeah, I mean, I could dig it. I could dig a
Takes it
brown
all.
boot, but yeah, you know, I mean, I'm not known for my subtlety, so you know.
So here's
I had a pair of cowboy boots when I was a kid, and I remember they were pink, covered in rhinestones. And then I saw a pair last year that were pink and covered with rhinestones. So I got another pair. So I'm like, I feel like a little kid in a good way whenever I wear them because they're fully like pink crystals. I'm like, oh, I'm a fancy cowgirl today.
Well, I showed you that one fringe pair that I could get you. The little
Oh, yeah,
shorties.
those are dope. Those are really good.
Have to.
I feel like you could have fun with those. I'm already imagining in my mind, like, yep, cut off shorts, little tied up top. Those boots would be amazing. Because they're like Western, but they're also like give you like festival vibes, like rock festival.
Yeah, that's exactly what they were made for, like Stagecoach and
yeah,
Coachella, which aren't going to happen now, but whatever.
I know, it's so wild. It's so wild because I feel like there's definitely there's like a funny, I don't know how to say, not funny like haha, but just a peculiar thing to get your mind around that, like, you know, it could go in 2 weeks. The world from being like
normal.
Everyone's just yeah, everyone's traveling and, you know, working and whatever to like, and I guess that's like, you know, I mean, ultimately I feel like travel is always a positive thing, but I guess with like travel, it makes certain things, you know, like a disease could spread super, super fast because everybody's going all over the world.
Yeah.
But maybe the cure could travel just as fast, you know, hopefully.
I think we're just going to have to wait it out and see what happens, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So obviously I think everything's going to work out for the best, just the way it works out. So
yeah, I mean, me too. And it's like a funny thing. I mean, I'm really like, I mean, I'm a hippie for sure, but I feel like right now we're like, you know, everybody's in like kind of like a, you know, a hard place, but I feel like the universe is all balanced. So I feel like good times will come after this and there'll be like a healing. And there's been some crazy things like Venice, Italy, you know, which definitely doesn't have the cleanest water in the world. And now you're seeing pictures and you could see to the bottom of the canals and there's dolphins and swans.
And they're seeing fish in the canals for the first time in decades.
Yeah, it's wild. And I mean, we've been there twice and it's one of the most beautiful places on earth, regardless. I mean, we love Italy and we love Venice, you know, but it's just so interesting to see how just a couple weeks of people not being in boats and not, you know, how it I mean, it changes the earth so quickly. But that gives me hope in and of itself because people will say, you know, it's too late for climate change. It's too late. Maybe it's not. And maybe it's a sign that it's not too late to save things, you know, save the world, save the climate.
I totally agree. And, you know, Wendy and I were talking about that today as we drove around in L.A. with no traffic for the first time ever in my lifetime. And it's like maybe this is, you know, the cleaning up that we needed.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's just such a strange thing. But I think like for all the like negative things of people getting sick and everything, I think that like, you know, hopefully there can be something positive in the negative, you know?
Yeah.
And I guess like there's a lot of like scared energy in the world, which I get. I'm scared, you know, but I think that like it's, you have to keep like a hopeful attitude about things. You know, I don't watch too much news and stuff like that. I try not to because so negative. It makes everything seem so bleak when you could also see like beautiful things like the people in Italy and Spain who are like all on their balconies singing to each other and stuff. I mean, that's beautiful. They're finding a silver lining and, you know, everything going on.
Totally agree. Here's one question that I'd love to ask. And
I'm ready.
There's not too many people that could ask. What's it like traveling? You know, Steve is very well known and has an iconic look. You're an eyeful. What is it like traveling? Do people constantly bother you, or do you feel them staring at you? Do people come up and talk to you? How does that work out?
Well, I wouldn't say people ever really bother us because I'm not bothered by it. You know what I mean? I think if you look different, then, you know, people are going to react to you differently, you know? So that I don't mind. I mean, I feel like some places we go, like people look at you like you're an alien or a clown or something, but I'm okay with that. I'm okay with like to me, I feel like if people laugh with me or laugh at me, I'm good either way. As long as they're laughing, I'm happy, you know?
Sure.
And I think it gives people an opening. If they want to talk to you, they might say, like, where are you from? You're not from around here, are you? Or whatever. And, you know, you have a conversation that way. I mean, if we really are, like, we want to be, like, low-key, I feel like it's actually kind of almost easy to go incognito. If, you know, he puts on sunglasses and wears his hair down and dresses down a bit, and I, you know, dress down a bit and, you know, do the same, you could somewhat, like, zip around without drawing a lot of attention to yourself. I mean, if we're in our like rock clothes or whatever, yeah, you're going to raise some eyebrows, but I feel for the most part that most people are curious, maybe if you really stick out, but they're not negative for the most part. And even if people are negative, which doesn't happen too often. I just feel like, I mean, that's okay too. You know, I think people have the prerogative to either be like, you're fabulous, or oof, what are you doing? Like, I think anytime you take a risk, whether it's in fashion or in art or in music or anything, it's going to be a little polarizing. There's going to be people who are like, I love what you're doing, you're speaking to me. And there's going to be people who are like, oof, that's the most awful thing. But it is funny because sometimes we'll be like in the Midwest with like my mom and dad, and we'll go to like the grocery store or something. And, you know, definitely people are
not ready for that.
Or they'll say something, and like, you know, for the most part, you know, it's funny. You know, I don't really mind it. You know, like, and I don't think Steve does either. I mean, the funny thing is like sometimes we'll be out, and because he has long hair and he's like, you know, he's little like me. We're both little. You know, sometimes we'll be somewhere and people will be like, "Excuse me, ladies," and then he turns around and they're like, "Whoops."
My bad.
But I'm like, that's all right. That just means you're beautiful, you know?
Yeah. Well, like I said, I mean, I've lived in LA California for 40 years, and seeing famous people isn't such a big deal, I guess. But, you know, yeah, that's the first question I get whenever I go to a rodeo or go to the Midwest or whatever. They're like, so what famous people do you know? I'm like, I don't know any. I go, you know, I don't.
You should just make something up really weird. You should like pick the weirdest people to say, you know, make up celebrities that don't even exist. And then be like, oh, you don't know so-and-so?
Oh,
but
you don't know?
But I do like to say that sometimes. When people are like, what do you guys do? I'll just straight up say like if I feel like it's coming from a positive place, I'll tell them. But if I feel like it's coming from a little bit of a negative place, I'll just say whatever. I like to tell people that I'm something they wouldn't expect. I like to say that I'm like a scientist or an elementary school teacher, or like, you know, sometimes they buy it, but usually they know I'm full of shit. But
that's funny though. I mean, I like that.
Yeah. And sometimes like if somebody will like they'll recognize Steve. I mean, most of the time they'll go, oh, Steve Stevens, you know?
Yeah.
But sometimes like sometimes older people or something, they'll be like they give me the, I know but I don't know. And so sometimes if I'm feeling a little sassy, I'll just say that he's somebody that he in no way resembles, because I can't wait for them to like Google and be like, you know what I mean? So he scolds me when I do that. But, you know, I feel like if they're laughing at me, I get to have a little entertainment of my own. but I mean, when I see somebody who looks different, I love it. I'm like, yes, be yourself, you know? And sometimes like that's the thing that I feel like I enjoy the most when it comes to like something somebody could say to me. Sometimes people will send me like messages online or whatever, and they'll be like, oh, I live in a little town, or I live in another country, or I live wherever, and seeing you be yourself makes me feel like I could be myself too. And I feel like that's literally the greatest compliment anyone could ever, you know, give me personally. Like, yes, be yourself. I'm always going to encourage it. And even when I was a kid, I dressed different, I looked different, and I got like bullied for it, you know, like people were kind of awful to me when I was in school. But I actually like think that was a positive, because it gave me really thick skin. So now like nothing really bothers me. And I feel like, you know, most people who are interesting as adults were like picked on as kids, but it certainly like made it like when I would be a model and I'd go to auditions, and, you know, you're lucky if you get 1 in 50 auditions.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't have that like, oh, I'm so hurt. Why didn't, you know, you're like a little tougher about things when you've been through that. So I'd be like, I'll get the next one, you know? So I feel like no matter what happens in life, you can always pull a positive lesson from it.
I think a lot of that it's interesting you said that, because I think a lot of people have misunderstood personal branding. Meaning, I have some rodeo friends, and I keep telling them, I go, you're a brand. I go, you're a 2-time world champ. Why don't you try and use that and leverage it on social media and this and that? They're like, I don't think of it that way. I'm just me. I'm like, they don't separate the difference. So.
Yeah, and there is. Like, I feel like it's important to be authentic to who you are, because I feel people can can sense it from a mile away. If you're not genuine, if you're playing a character, if you're pretending to be somebody you're not, people, it doesn't resonate with people. Yeah. Somehow on some level, no matter how good an actor or actress or whatever you are, it reads as fake. But there's a difference between not being genuine or authentic and putting a little, like, having something you like that becomes your trademark. Like, I feel like Steve's look is obviously his trademark. Billy Idol, if you see a glove and spiked blonde hair, you're going to think Billy Idol. If you see like a big shaggy hair and like legs, you think Tina Turner, or like Dolly Parton with a big blonde wig and the boobs. And I feel like those people are exactly who they are. But that kind of like shorthand branding where people associate something with you, I think it makes it easy for people to understand who you are too, because a lot of like fashion, because I was a fashion designer, it comes down to expressing who you are on the outside, like who you are on the inside on the outside. So I feel like it helps people when they see you know who you are, how you feel, whether are you a business person, are you a creative person, are you a goth, are you so you could tell a lot about somebody in some ways by their choices, their fashion choices, their style choices.
Here's a question I'd throw at you. You're, like I said, you're an eyeful, but you also, you're giving back to charities. You're incredibly smart, good businesswoman. You're managing Steve and doing all these things. Do you think people before they meet you, if they just see you, they discount seeing that?
Well, thank you. Thank you for what you said. And yeah, they do, but I still see that as a positive.
Yeah.
Because nobody ever sees me coming.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't mind that. Like, there have been times in the business where, I don't know how to say it. I guess where like, at times I felt offended if somebody was really like just, I would have something to say that was, relevant and pertinent to the conversation and intelligent, and they just dismissed it outright because of the way that I look. But I also feel like you can game that system. If people think that you are dumb or think that you're not to be taken seriously, then they're not expecting that from you. So, if you can back it up and you go, oh, well, okay, no problem. And then you hit them with that tough contract. They didn't expect that. They weren't ready for that. So you can make anything work to your advantage if you're willing to play that game. So I don't mind it. And I also think maybe it challenges people's perception of like, I have long blonde hair and big fake tits and the whole thing that like is like what people would stereotypically go, that's a bimbo. And I love to wear big 8-inch heels and tons of makeup and whatever. So yeah, I don't wear like a typical businesswoman attire, but maybe if somebody sees that like I'm not as dumb as I look, and also that like ultimately your looks are a fading element, whatever they may be, but what's inside is like what's important. And if people go, oh, I thought she'd be one way and she's actually a nice person, maybe then the next time they come across somebody who looks a certain way, they won't be so quick to judge them and to be like, oh, they must be like this,
I totally agree. I totally agree. And it's weird. And like in this business, like things can be shallow, I guess, in some ways. There's also like a lot of depth, but there can be like elements of like, of course, people care about image and the way that people look. And I don't discount that. I was a makeup artist and I was, a designer. And I think that when you feel good about how you look, it gives you confidence and things like that. So I don't think that there's anything shallow or vain about caring about your appearance. But I also think that at the end of the day, nobody's going to love you for how you look. That's not a real love. Nobody's going to love you for any of those kind of like surface things. So, I've certainly known girls where I was like, oh my God, she's so gorgeous. And then you get to know them and you're like, oof, why did I think she was like, she's beast? You know what I mean? And vice versa, like where you go, oh, well, that girl's cute, And then
you get to know them and you go, this might be the most beautiful woman on earth, because
Yeah.
their heart is nice, And I think, and, with men too, of course, but I think that, that's like a funny thing that sometimes, can be discounted, or, I don't know exactly how to express it. I think you know what I mean.
No, I totally agree. And I think, I would think women would discount you quicker than men, but maybe I'm wrong.
That could go either way.
Yeah,
I mean, I think
so.
sometimes they do, but I think people figure out pretty quickly, that whatever they think I am, I'm not, that I'm because I'm nice to everybody, and I'm not, however I may look, that's just I look at it differently. Some people might perceive my image to be I guess really sexual or something, but in my mind it's more kitschy and Barbie and Dolly Parton, and I just like a little bit of over the top, it's all tongue in cheek for me. Yeah. So I think when people realize it's just a little bit, I'm just having fun, and I'm not some crazy slut or whatever they think that I am, then they're she's cool. It's just she just having fun. And I always feel that way. I mean, the chaps or whatever. I still like wearing tutus, ballerina outfit. I wear Halloween costumes all year round. I just like to have fun,
you sound
and
my wife.
Play around. So yeah, I mean, I don't think,
you sound like my wife. She does the same thing with the costumes and all that.
She's sexy, and she's got her, pink rainbow hair and stuff. So I'm sure sometimes people are probably oh, she's probably kooky. And then she's probably super nice, and they're oh, I was wrong about you.
The only thing she doesn't like about her pink hair right now is she says she can't get away with anything. Because everyone goes, oh, I saw you down at the Strand, or oh, I saw you over there. And they're like, no, it was me. Oh, yeah, I saw you pink hair. I know it was you. She can't.
Oh, yeah, that's true. She definitely can't commit any crimes.
Yeah, she doesn't blend in anymore. That's the only thing she said. She's everyone's catching me.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But you know what I mean? It's also I guess well, now I was going to say, because everybody has those moments when you want to be way under the radar, Yeah,
she just wants to go down to get a coffee or something, and everyone's like, oh, hey, we roller skate on the Strand, and her friend, she'll because she teaches Pilates, so a lot of the women that she sees, they're out being active too. And she skates by with her pink hair. It's oh, you know who that was.
Yeah, and I feel for girls, sometimes if you're cute, you're done up, you got a poppin' outfit on, your makeup looks amazing. Half the time you don't run into anyone you know. But when you're
exactly.
you gotta run out and get this one thing, and I don't look that cute today, but whatever, I'm just gonna go out and do this thing. That's when everybody you run into. And if you got that pink hair, they're gonna recognize you from the back, and there's no escaping, there's no dodging down the grocery store aisle so that they don't.
Exactly. There's no hiding. There's no hiding at all. So.
No, I had come from. It's just so stupid. I had a little something done to my face, out front. I've had some work done, And I stopped by the pharmacy, and I was with Steve, and we went to pick up a prescription, for, something for my little procedure. Yeah. And so I was looking a little rough. I ain't gonna lie to you, I looked cuter in my life. And all of a sudden I hear, oh my God, is that Josie Stevens? And I'm oh shit. So I turn around, and, it was 2 fans of the show. This was right after the show, finished airing. And they were like, I saw Steve. I knew you'd be around. And I was yeah, hey. So I had to be listen, I just had a little something done. I don't normally look like this, And they're like, can we have a picture? And I was shit. Right. But I never say no, because I feel that's uncool, man. You know what I mean? If somebody likes you and supports you, don't be a dick. Let them have a picture. So I thought, okay. But I said, can you not post it online? Yeah. And they said, no problem. And I was okay. And I thought in my mind, they're going to post it. They're going to post it because I got this picture of me looking crazy. They didn't post it. So kudos to those 2 girls, wherever you may be. They didn't post that horrible picture of me. And but yeah, that was definitely one of those times where I was wishing I could blend in a little bit before, before anybody saw me, because nobody.
Now's not the time.
Yeah, nobody looks that cute after you have like, like a laser treatment or a little plastic surgery or something. Although every now and then I'll see like these girls in Beverly Hills and they got like the little plaster on their nose from like a nose job or something. And they're out shopping and they still look super hot. And I'm like, bless their hearts. They're not ashamed. They're like status. Like, look at me. I just got my nose done.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think
kids house for a month.
See, I totally agree with you. I think they do it to show off that they just got some work done.
Yeah, and I'm not ashamed. I'll be the first one to admit whatever I had done. But having said that, that don't mean that I want everyone to see me while I got like, a black eye or something. I'm like, I just lay low. I just lay low.
My wife got a face, some chemical peel on her face or whatever. And she's like, no pictures for about a week. It's like, okay. Her skin just peeled off. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, and they're amazing. Like, speaking as a woman, they make you look fresh as a daisy, but you got that rough week where you're like, oh, please, nobody see me right now. I got to hide inside. Like, because it's not, it's a little rough before it gets cute, but yeah, I mean, it's funny, but yeah, those are the kind of times where you're like, okay, I wish I didn't have pink hair or whatever, because people will catch you out. But everybody, I mean, not everybody, but a lot of girls do it. And I feel like it puts and now I've got a little side tangent, but it puts an unrealistic expectation when these women are like, I've never had anything done and I just wake up looking this way. No, you don't. You know what I mean? Why are you making girls feel bad about yourself? Tell the truth. You've had Botox and filler and a nose job and you got a chemical peel and you got lasers and like you had your eyebrows microbladed and you have fake eyelash extensions. Like, and that's okay because I do a lot of those things too. But like, and I'm not saying people have to admit it, but I also feel like by admitting it, maybe girls don't feel so much like whatever, because I feel that way sometimes. I see girls and I'm like, God, she looks so great. And then sometimes I have to go, she does look great, but also could it be that there's some filters involved or whatever? Like, nobody's that perfect. Stop beating yourself up. Like she doesn't have one pore in her face. It's magical. Maybe she does, just like every other human on earth. It's important sometimes to remind yourself we're all human.
Well, my wife was talking to her, the plastic surgeon she worked with, and we were there, and she goes, do you look at people and go and kind of say, oh, she had this done? She goes, oh yeah. She goes, I won't say the celebrities, but she's just like, oh yeah, I could see, oh, she got her chin done, or she got her cheeks done, she did this, she did that, and then because you see them online, oh, I haven't done anything, and you're like,
yeah. No, you can't bullshit a bullshitter. That's what I say. I could always see it. You know what I mean? I'll always be like, oh, and I support it. I feel like people should do or not do whatever makes them feel good, But and I don't even care if girls lie, but sometimes it's ridiculous, and I just laugh. Like, you'll see a girl who has like normal sized lips, and all of a sudden they're massive, and they're natural. It's my lip liner, and I'm like, I was a makeup artist. I'd love to know what lip liner did that, because let me get one.
That lip liner didn't exist when I was a kid.
Yeah, but it's okay. It's kind of funny. I mean, I feel like it's okay, and I mean, of course, we could go on some whole like thing about it, but it's it's I guess a funny thing about like people feeling that pressure to be like, not only are you meant to look perfect, but you're meant to like, it's just supposed to be natural. Like, I don't know if that's a thing, and like, I don't know. It's funny. The person I like, and this is like a little bit of like a loop around, but Naomi Campbell, who PF I think is amazing looking, of course, but she is like funny with the travel, like I don't know if you saw her video. Yeah. This is pre-corona with the wiping. That's me, because I'm a germaphobe. So I was on her wave. I was like, yes, but I love that she was like, she didn't give a fuck. She's in the airport, face mask, gloves,
everything,
like the whole thing. She wasn't trying to be like, oh my God, I'm going to look like I just stepped out of a magazine. She's like, nah, I gotta be like in full germ isolation, I could relate. I always have hand sanitizer. That's why I was like, I'm lucky when all this happened. I was like, I've been a germaphobe for so long. I got 5 million things like Purell. I'm ready. I was ready, because I think when you travel, if you don't want to get sick, you kind of almost have to.
Well, see, that was what I was going to ask you, is because I'm not as, I don't know. my wife is much more stringent upon cleanliness and all that, bugs and all that. But I'm definitely aware, like I mean, you go to a room and you look at things, you're like, oh, yeah. So do you think that, were you always that way, or do you think the traveling made you more aware of your surroundings and germaphobes?
A little bit of both. I was always that way in the sense that I've always been like really like fastidious like that. But traveling, yeah, because, I mean, if you're flying, you're touching things that a lot of people have touched. And I'm sure if you've interviewed anybody who's worked for an airline, they'll tell you that those planes are not that clean. Like I always take the window seat because it's the cleanest seat on the plane because the least people have touched it, where everybody touches the aisle seat, Yep. And like I wipe everything down and whatever. And of course you're meeting people, you're shaking hands. You gotta, if you don't want to get colds or sick all the time, you have to, you kind of have to do that. And if you're, a touring musician, you can't really afford to take a sick day. You can't really afford to say, hey, to the thousands of people who bought tickets,
I don't feel good.
Sorry, but I got a cold, or you're going to play sick or not for the most part. So you want to be careful. And sometimes people will come to the meet and greets and they're sick, but I get it because they're like, oh, I'm so excited to meet you, or
one chance to meet them. Yeah.
I want to go, and I don't blame them. But I just, you just got to make sure you got that Purell ready, that soap ready, whatever, so that you don't, and don't touch your face like everything they're telling us to do now, because you're probably not going to get sick just shaking hands with somebody who's got a cold. But if you don't wash your hands and touch your face, you will. And like I when I was younger, I think sometimes I caught more colds because I was a little bit less like now I will not leave my house for years and years without, hand sanitizer and wipes and whatever. Like when I travel, I have like my must haves. That's definitely, I buy hand wipes by the case. I always got like hand sanitizer, so I got that. And like, we have all our little things that we use to make the hotel room at home. I mean, all the normal stuff, but then like I always bring candles and, different things that like make me feel like, a little bit homey. Cause otherwise you feel like if you're on the road long enough, it's fun, but you start feeling like, the room starts like, you start getting a little, I guess, homesick in a way. So like if you bring a few things that make you feel like familiar, then you don't feel sometimes as much like, especially if you can't go out for some reason and you start feeling like cooped up in your room. It's like sometimes it's comforting to have like whatever it is that makes you feel comfortable at home, whether it's, candles, or like we travel with like a little Keurig French press because Steve likes his, his coffees and, little snacks I always bring, whatever. So, it's like, you just feel like, okay, well, that's like something from home.
The one thing I travel with is a humidifier.
Oh, that's smart. That's really smart.
I live near the beach, and so, it's usually 60 to 80% humidity here. And then if I go to Vegas or Denver, which are the two places I go to the most for my work, it's 10% humidity. And then you go into a hotel room, and there's no fresh air at all. So my skin just dries out.
Yeah, Vegas will do that to me for sure. And like once we had a humidifier, we borrowed one from somebody, but that's actually clever. I never really thought of bringing one with me, but that's smart because it does get really dry. And then like I got a nosebleed in Vegas once just because it was so dry. So that's smart. I might have to add humidifier to the list.
Well, tell Steve I'm sorry.
I'll tell you a funny story. You could edit this out if it's too much, but I'll tell you something funny about Denver and Mexico City and like those high altitude cities. We were traveling and it was actually Mexico City, but I've noticed it happens other places where they got the high altitude like that. And I felt like a weird feeling in my chest, and I was like, oh, what is that? And I heard a squeak coming from my boob. And I was like, oh my God, I think I just popped my implant. And I'm like, what am I going to do? I'm far away from home. We're on tour. Something's wrong with my boob. It's never squeaked before. Like, panicked call to the plastic surgeon. Like, my boobs are squeaking. I'm like going to Steve, can you hear that? Can you hear that? And every time I like move my arm or like flex my chest muscles, like to do something, it would be like, and it was like, this is wild. What's going on? And it turns out in high altitude, breast implants can squeak. So once I knew what was happening, I was not tripping. But now it's a joke. Whenever we go somewhere like that, we kind of laugh. We're waiting for the squeaks. But the first time it happened, I was panicked because you wouldn't expect it. Now I think it's hilarious.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, no, it's a thing. It's a thing. I think it has to do with the size of them. I don't know that the more moderate size ones do that, but a casual poll of my friends with the bigger ones say that they've had the same thing happen to them. So I think it's a volume issue. But the girls who have the bigger ones, yeah, they make crazy creaks and squeaks and whatever in high altitude. I guess because there's air bubbles or something in there. I don't know. I'm not a doctor or scientist, but yeah, it's an alarming thing. But hey, the things you learn when you travel. You learn that your boobs will squeak in high altitude, and
well, I wonder if is it a 500 cc? Is it a 6? What is the cc amount for squeakage?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the threshold is. I'm at 850, so and my other friend who's complaining about it, I think has 1200. So
oh
I think it's definitely when you skew to the bigger side. I haven't had I posted something about it online once because I was trying to put the squeaks because I thought it was funny. And, it did seem like it's more maybe but who knows? Maybe the smaller ones do it too. But yeah, maybe it's just louder when they're bigger, question mark. But,
well, see, I'm going to definitely leave this in and maybe I'll get some feedback.
Yeah. Ask the people. If you got fake boobs, do they squeak when you're in high altitude like Denver? And
what size are they? And have you ever heard them squeak?
Yeah, because I don't know, like I said, I don't know if they all squeak or if it's the big ones are louder or if it's that it's a certain, I don't know if there's a different silicone, saline, whatever, but that's a very random thing to learn when you travel. I'm sure people around here oh, I learned about the customs of blah, blah, blah. I'm over here oh yeah, your boobs will squeak in high altitude. That's my contribution to society today, but they do.
Well, it happens.
Yeah, and it's kind of hilarious. To me anyways, because I'm childish. I find it very funny.
I'm laughing with you, but now I'm curious to how big do they have to be to squeak?
I don't know. We just putting fake boob facts out there. Did you know if you hold a flashlight to a fake boob, it glows?
You're killing me.
I know. Who knew that it was gonna go straight to the gutter? But yeah.
No,
they become completely see-through. You could see everything inside. You could see the valves and everything. So science, it's like an X-ray machine.
See, I think that's a size thing.
Huh?
I think that's a size thing because I don't think that'll work on the wife.
I think it will. I'm telling you, bright flashlight. Press it to the bottom of the boob. It's going to light up full on.
So it's got to be a black light.
No, just a flashlight. It's just got to be a bright one.
All right.
My friend taught me that, and I was like, "You're so full of it." I said, "You're just trying to make a mockery of me and get me to hold a flashlight to my boob." Which she's like, "Just do it." And I was like, "You're stupid, but I'm going to do it." And I did it, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
Oh, I'm doing that tonight.
So, yeah, it's pretty funny. Because my friend, who's kind of a kook, drew a jack-o'-lantern face on her boob because they glow kind of orange. And I'm like, it's pretty funny. It's pretty funny, but
that's
yeah,
awesome.
And again, I feel like this is probably highly inappropriate for the travel blog and fully unrelated to a travel podcast. But having said that,
well, they'll have to go in.
We're
an hour in, Josie, so anyone still listening is going to be a fan.
Yeah. If anyone's still listening, there's a treat for you, titty treat.
Yeah, and I won't tease the podcast. I'll just make them get through it.
No, I can't even believe I went there. I don't know. Quarantine got me going wild over here. Quarantine got me tripping.
I'm gonna have a flashlight tonight. That's gonna be interesting.
But I am telling you, I swear it works. It's a funny thing, and I think that saline glows better than silicone, but they both work for real. For real, I've told other girls about it. They've tried it. No one has said yet that it didn't work. And again, I think over the muscle, under the muscle, saline, silicone, whatever size, it probably all factors in. But
yeah.
But it's alarming. And let the record state that it is in no way, shape, or form sexy. If y'all are expecting something sexy, it is the opposite of sexy, but it is hilarious.
Well, it's like Dr. Pimple Popper.
Oh, I can't watch. I can't do it.
See, I
I
can't
can't do
either.
it.
My wife's all
I mean,
over that show, and I go, oh.
bless her. Like, she found her niche, and I am not gonna like throw salt on anybody's hustle, but I can't watch it. I don't have the stomach for it.
I don't
Like,
either.
I don't want to know.
Everyone's got their thing, though.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, like I said, not judging, but that's like that's a lot. Like, I can't even watch those shows where they do plastic surgery or where, like, for something about it. Like, kudos to the doctors, but I'm kind of, I get a little like have to cover my eyes. I can't do it. I can't look.
I'm the same way. I can't. Wendy thinks it's funny, but I'm like, I'm not laughing. It's not. I can't. I don't need to. Nope. Don't need to see it.
Yeah, it just disturbs me, and I'm hypochondriac, so like anytime I see anything weird, like I cannot watch those shows. Like the ones that are like strange medical, no, because then I think I got whatever the fuck that is. I'm like, I didn't know it, but Steve got to talk me off the ledge.
For me, I don't want to see it. I don't want to know about it. I just, if something's wrong with me, just fix it and let me move on.
Exactly. Like, ignorance is bliss. I mean, this whole thing with
totally
Corona, every time I like get the slightest, like, I'm like, I have to like talk myself out of spinning. Like, you've been home for 5 days. There's nothing wrong with you. It's dry in the house. The heat's on. Like, you're being insane. So yeah, I don't need anything else to make me be like, oh man, I want
What I've been asking all my guests is, how do you fill up your time when you're traveling? Meaning, whether you're at the airport or on a road or on a bus or whatever, are you listening to music? Are you listening to a podcast? Are you watching movies? Are you reading a book? Are you catching up on work stuff?
I read a lot of books. I like to read them. Like, I don't usually bring paper books because it's like, I feel like, more unwieldy, but I read a lot of books on my phone. I listen to a lot of music. I do listen to podcasts sometimes, and I, do watch, movies sometimes and stuff like that. But a lot of times, like, if I have internet, like, usually I'm just like telling dumb jokes on my Instagram story and like talking to people online, it just depends. And like, I mean, I work, obviously, like, we're traveling, a lot of times for business. So we've got like, sound checks and meet and greets, and I'm maybe looking after like whatever, merch or whatever, things like that I need to look after. But, for our downtime, if it's somewhere where I can't go out, because I'm always like, where are we going? Let's get out. But if we can't go anywhere, like at the airport or whatever, when you're waiting, that's usually it. And like, we all kind of like, when we're traveling with the band, we all just like sit around and kind of, tease each other and make jokes. Yeah. And, like that's kind of like the fun thing. I feel like, I mean, there's only 2 of us girls, sometimes 3 if, Billy's girlfriend comes that are traveling, but it's like, being one of the guys. So we all just like sit around cracking jokes for the most part.
I was gonna say that probably helps that you have thick skin.
Yeah, you know what? But I love it. I love it. You know what I mean? Like, if we didn't pick at each other, like if they didn't tease me, I'd be like, well, they don't like me. You know what I mean? Like, I tease them too. I mean, I feel like it's like having like brothers. You don't want your brother to be like, oh, hello. You want them to be like, razzing you. Is that what you're wearing today?
Well, Wendy worked at, I told you, in Las Vegas for 20 years, and she liked the way the old pit bosses treated the employees. Yeah, the old pit bosses.
Yeah, they're probably like a little bit like breaking balls.
Yeah, they're always Guidos, and yeah, she said that they would, hey, you sugar tits, or hey, sweet muffin, or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But if anybody gave any girl a hard time, they were out the door. There was no political correctness. There was no, you got.
Yeah, I believe it. And that's the way it should be. Like, that's, I like it. I mean, I could take a joke, and I could definitely dish out a joke. I'm always roasting, but I do feel like there's a difference between like, kidding around and like, disrespect, of course. And I think it's cool that they were like, they could tease around, but they still looked out for everybody, made sure the girls were good. Because I can imagine some of those guys in Vegas, those casinos, getting a little drunk might be a little rowdy sometimes.
Yeah, just a little. Even,
yeah.
I mean, my wife was in her early 40s when we met, and I saw some. I mean, I was almost embarrassed of some of the things that she had to deal with being a guy. I was like, holy Christ. I mean, just guys writing letters to her and dropping them off on her tray and then leave. You know, you're like, I go, do you know him? Like, she's like, no, I never even saw him before. And you're like, and you read the letter and you're like, what the fuck? Something's going on in that guy's brain.
She should have saved them.
She did.
Then she could put them on Instagram for everyone's delight. You know what I mean? Like,
she has a story. She wrote down a whole bunch of her stories. So she wants.
She should put them out or publish them or put them online. I feel like people would enjoy it.
I'm trying. I'm trying to get her to write them down or start a podcast or do something with them. So
yeah, Tales from Vegas. Like, you know, people would be into it, and I do feel like that's one of those places where even people who are normally pretty well behaved, they go to lose their minds. They go to act out. So I feel like the ones who normally act out are going to be extra wild. But probably a lot of people who are mild-mannered at home, they're like, nope. You know what I mean? This is my weekend to you know, go crazy.
That's where what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. That's where that all came from.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm sure she's seen some funny shit. And for the most part, I do find it funny. I get some crazy DMs, you know?
Yeah.
And like, you know, for the most part, unless they're really, truly offensive, I think they're funny as hell. You know what I mean?
It takes a lot to offend her. Yeah, that's for sure.
It does. And like, if they're really like hilarious, I mean, I'm not going to tell you. Like, normally I'm very like, if somebody sends me a DM, I look at it like, I don't know, people deserve their, you know, privacy. I would never like, you know, screen capture one and post one or, you know, whatever you want to say. But if somebody sends me something, there was one guy who sent me a message that was so beyond the pale outrageous, like I literally could not help myself. I sent it to all my friends, you know, but it was too much. It was like,
Josie, don't say that because I still think Connor's going to lose.
Why you got to say that Connor's going to lose? This is fake news right here. This is not true. Connor's going to win.
This is the DM I sent about how he was going to lose, and now you're showing all your friends because he won.
I'm going to show him. I'm going to show everybody. I'm going to be like, he said Connor was going to lose, and now we got double or nothing bet. So
that's going to be.
Don't make me tweet that.
We just got to see who's going to fight next.
Doesn't matter. He's going to win. I believe in him. We actually just met the juggernaut he goes by in Vegas. He retired like a year ago. Do you know who I'm talking about?
No.
Oh, he was cool, man. He's a badass. We met him at the Palms. He was really cool. He was shy. He didn't say that. I did my own recon and Googled him. But he was an MMA fighter, and he was cool. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like I love McGregor. Steve loves Thug Rose. That's his favorite.
That's his favorite.
He does. Thug Rose, if you are listening, Steve love you.
I told you she's a badass and she pulls off the shaved head.
Yeah, she looks cool. And like, who's gonna mess with her? Not me.
Not me.
You know?
I guess
no.
She's a true badass.
Yeah, I got props for those girls who fight. I mean, of course, I have props for the guys too, but like, you know, like there was that fight. Oh, what was it? Like 2 weeks ago, and that girl got that hematoma in her face.
Oh, Joanna! Yeah, holy Christ.
Ooh, I was like, she is a badder bitch than me.
And
I wouldn't even be in the ring still. I'd be crying somewhere. So she didn't even cry.
I know. She's like, I'm done.
Yeah, she's made out of something different than me. I break a nail. I'm like, this is bullshit. My life is ruined.
I went to an amateur fight. One of the guys I trained with was fighting in an amateur fight here locally, and it was literally the first time So the fight right before my buddy's fight, the guy got caught in a heel hook in a jiu-jitsu move, and it snapped both of his calf bones.
Whee!
And I was like, I was sitting there with one of the black belts that I trained with, and he's like, I go, holy shit. It was an amateur fight, meaning no pay. And,
wow.
And Pat goes, he's out for 6 months. I'm like, oh my God.
They got insurance?
Nope.
Like, here's my question.
Nothing. And that's why I said, I literally said,
with no insurance and no pay?
I go, that's literally when I went, okay, I'll never fight in a cage. I'll just keep training, but I'm not. It was ridiculous. It was just like, holy, it's not one thing getting. It's one thing getting punched in the face and going to work with a black eye. It's another thing strapped down. I couldn't work for 6 months. Are you kidding? I'd be filed bankruptcy. Live with my parents. What do you do?
Yeah, I mean, I got a lot of respect for them, but that is tough. I mean, and it's one thing if you're getting those big like McGregor purses. You know what I mean? Like most people are going to risk a broken leg for 10 million or whatever. But yeah, that's a rough one. I mean, I guess they must just be really like dedicated, but yeah, and I think I'd be freaked out seeing that. Like if I hear anything's like too gnarly in a fight, like if he's like, oh, I just watched this, I'm like, I'm out. Don't want to see it. I was a ring card girl once, and I saw one drop of blood, and I was like, and I want to quit.
I was going to say, don't go ringside then, because just hearing the smacks up close is like, whoa. Oh yeah, I'm sure it's brutal.
Oh,
that got real.
I could watch it on TV, but yeah, I think to be there, I'd be like, and I'm going home.
It's like, oh, I'm done. Well, hey, I don't want to take up any more of your precious quarantine time.
Yeah. The quarantine, the never ending. No, I'm kidding. It's not never ending. We're going to be good. We're going to be good.
Oh, yeah.
But it was fun chatting with you. And if anybody's still listening, thank you for hanging in there while we rambled about squeaky boobs and everything.
Everything. Squeaky boobs is going down in history.
Yeah, it's fully going to just be like my best friend Steve and my parents left at this point. So hello, guys. No, I'm kidding. But I kid. But yeah, But it was fun talking. I mean, we thoroughly covered the gamut of travel and non-travel topics.
The way I try and treat the podcast, it depends on the guest, obviously. But if I sat down on an airplane with you and said, "Oh, so what do you do, Josie?" and you would tell me, "Oh, I model, I do this," I go, "Oh shit, well, let me find out about that." And that's kind of how I like talking.
Yeah, but if
people.
You sat down with me next to an airplane, I tell you I was a scientist or an elementary school teacher. No, I'm just kidding.
Only if I was staring awkwardly at you.
Yes, I'd be like, "Oh yes, I have a class of certain." No, I'm kidding. I mean, I have done that, but I wouldn't do that to you because you're a nice guy. I tell you the truth.
But that's it. That's why I like talking to people. I'm like you. It's like I just want to chat. So.
Yeah, well, it was fun, and I'm going to be expecting a picture of those boots you're designing. I want to see them. Your Mohican boots.
Oh, you got a deal. Hopefully, I'll probably get it in May. Or it'll be July now.
Yeah. Well, I want to see them, and we'll see. I'll be curious to see if that. We've been debating in the Stevens household if that MMA fight's going to happen this month. I don't think they canceled it yet.
I think Dana's going to cancel it.
Oh, is he?
That's my guess.
I don't think maybe they could have it with no audience or whatever.
But
you think they're flipping?
Totally for it. I just don't think they're going to do it.
Yeah. Well,
it won't be here. They said that it won't be in New York. It won't be in Vegas because they're not allowed to get even 10 people together in some areas. And I was just talking to my friend in Oklahoma. I don't think they're locked down. They should just have it like somewhere like that, and then pay-per-view it, and then everyone who's stuck at home will watch it. I'd pay money for that one. I haven't paid for many fights lately, but I would pay for that one.
Yeah, I mean, normally I would have been salty because we paid for the McGregor one and it was over in 3 seconds. But I was so delighted that he won. I was like, I don't care. It was worth every penny.
It's like back in the day when I used to pay for the Tyson fights, and they'd be over in like 45 seconds. You're like, holy shit.
Yeah, then my friends were roasting me because they're like, yeah, it was on the internet, 10 minutes later because it was only 5 seconds or whatever it was, 40 seconds. But yeah. I was like, I don't care. I got to see it. I won like $40 whole. So
we're double or nothing, so we're good.
Yep. But thanks for having me on.
Thanks
and
so
I
much.
hope that you guys have fun in your quarantine and find some good activities to do. And I'm looking forward to seeing some travel adventures, hopefully from you guys once this is all.
We'll be waiting to go to Japan, so maybe I'll DM you and ask you some places to go and visit when we get there. Yeah,
I would love to tell you some fun places. I'll send you a message with like what restaurants and clubs and shopping and stuff that I like. There's so many amazing things to do there.
Yeah, neither of us have ever been, so I'm taking all advice.
Yeah. No, you'll have a great time. You'll have a great time. Like I said, Tokyo is one of my favorite places in the world. It's amazing.
It'll be a blast. Again, thank you so much for your time, and I'll see you after the McGregor fight.
Yeah. All right. Take care.
All right. Thanks, Josie.
Bye.
Bye-bye.